Countdown. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm Willie Bragg, here to talk about the fundamental issues of our time to help make the United States a better place to live and to make our world a more just place to live. I think that's something that we can all be in favor of. And speaking of, making things better, one of the fundamental things that separates the USA from other Western capitalist nations, of course, would be that we're the last advanced democracy not to have universal health care. That's not just immoral, it's a crime. Yeah, it's a need because people need it. I will also argue, as much as a juxtaposition that it sounds like it is, I will argue that for the free enterprise to save itself from its own excesses, negative excesses, I would think that universal health care would fit into that equation. And the thing about it is, it's also a national security issue. And what I mean when I say that people need it. I mean, we're all going to eventually need to go to the doctor. We're all eventually going to need to go to the hospital or something. And we're talking about very few of us go through a normal life with little to no health problems. We're all going to have some kind of a problem before too long. Some sooner than others, some younger than others. It's just a fact of life. And the thing about it is that healthcare is very expensive. The profit motive behind healthcare is a massive failure. And why there is a large section of the American people, thankfully, that large section and that attitude about the free market solving everything, at least it's starting to decline, and more people are opening up to the idea of universal health care. I mean, real, meaningful health care reform in this country. But still, there's a lot of people out there that think that, well, if we leave everything to the market forces, it'll correct itself. Well, the market forces have been trying to correct themselves for decades. What am I talking about? Trying? No, they like the way shit is. The insurance companies like the arrangement that they have. Big Pharma loves the fact that the U.S. government, their politicians are allowed to be bribed to so the U.S. government can't negotiate for lower drug prices. It's working for the medical industrial complex. Everything's just dandy for them. But for me and you and everybody else, we're not. And I hear the argument about, well, I don't want to pay for other people's health care. Well, you are already paying for other people's health care. You're paying for your own, and we're being ripped off with the way things are right now. So we need to overhaul this healthcare system. As I said, it's a juxtaposition. It's not just something that socialists aspire to have healthcare for all. I would think that even if you were a libertarian economist or favorite libertarian economics, or if you're just a conservative, broadly speaking, and you support capitalism, that this reform would actually be good for the economic systems. Because within the framework of capitalism, if you have universal health care, it will create an environment of non-exploitive economic growth. And I know what I'm talking about. You will have fewer people on welfare. because people will not have to choose between going on public assistance to get Medicaid and all that shit's means tested. Give me a second here. Or you will, or the situation of companies who closes factories go elsewhere for cheaper labor because of medical inflation. It's not those pesky labor unions demanding too much, because we hardly have any labor unions left. It used to be that companies and factories would close their shops in Illinois or in Michigan or up in Pennsylvania or in New York or what have you, and come down to Alabama or Mississippi for cheaper wages, and those pesky unions not being around. Well, they don't want to pay people $45 or $50 an hour up north, so they come and bring those factories down to pay them about I don't know, $10 an hour these days. Well, that's even too expensive for some of these people, so they send it to China, they send it to Mexico, they send it to Vietnam. Nothing against the people from China or Mexico or Vietnam. They deserve a living wage too. Everybody deserves a living wage. But the point is that companies leave here because of medical inflation. That is the biggest reason we have outsourcing right now in this country. One of the many reasons, and that could be also solve itself right there. And I was argued that's a national security issue, because a strong economy will keep America strong, if one must put it in nationalistic terms. So I don't understand why those on the center right and even the far right are objecting to this common sense approach referred to as universal health care. Now, there is, however, some good news. And the good news is that Medicare for All, which is roughly a system of national health insurance, and that is the true meaning of single payer, by the way. You pay one insurance company, and that would be the government. And they go basically pay your bills. The government just pays your bills. Kind of like as is done currently under our Medicare system, which is a limited single payer system for the elderly. It works well. It is far less bureaucratic than the private insurance systems that we have here. And believe it or not, Medicare for All, single payer healthcare, is less bureaucratic in countries that have such a system. All you have to do is flash a card, and it's not, well, how much money can we bleed out of your wallet? It's not that. It's what can we do to go and let's see what we can do to fix your situation, so you can get back to work or get back to your normal life. So that's what Medicare for All would be. National Health Service, as they have it in places like Great Britain and places like Italy, is essentially socialized medicine. The government runs the health care system totally. And, as I said, this is the way it's done in the UK, this is the way it's done in Italy and a few other countries. It is truly a public system in every sense of the concept of what you mean by public care. And as I said, it's a good system. It is the system I prefer. I prefer a national health service to a Medicare for All. But I would accept Medicare for All if we had Medicare for All here in the United States. But anyway, what I'm trying to say with regard to Medicare for All or a national health service, basically health care for everyone, guaranteed universal health care across the board. It is guaranteed in Article 25 of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I repeat, it is absolutely, it is considered within the guidelines of Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So what I'm going to do is do this here. Okay, and this illustration is gone. So we're going to go and share the screen again so I can show y'all. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 25. Right to an adequate living standard. Everyone has a right to a standard of living adequate for health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. Now, there is a little bit of outdated language by saying he and him as a pronoun. Remember, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was ratified in 1948, so just keep that in mind. But it is guaranteed. It is guaranteed, and I could make a case that the United States should really, honestly, look into. People in the United States should really look into essentially filing a complaint of human rights abuses by not having a system of universal health care here in the United States. So that's where I stand on that, and I just think it's a freaking given. And the thing about it is, I mean, we need universal health care, point blank. We do. So, anyway, I'm going to go and point out that quick summation of the what is called the Humprey Act of 1978, which guarantees basically a living wage job for all people. Is still the law of the land. And the law of the land allows, if implemented, allows everyone a right to a job that pays a living wage as a way to alleviate unemployment. And I will argue that under the Humphrey-Hawkins Act of 1978, one could enact a Medicare for all system. Now, there is also the question of its constitutionality, which is the most important part. And that is Amendment 8 and Amendment 13 of the US Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, guarantees a right to medical care in the form of Medicare for all or a national health service to be created here in the United States. I will start with the Bill of Rights on Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Excessive fines is what we pay for with the private insurance companies that exist right now under the arrangements, or the expensive drugs that we buy. The medical inflation is an excessive fine. It is also cruel and unusual punishment because we're being gouged by this entity called insurance companies, or we're being gouged with expensive drug prices. And whatever ailment you have in life, honestly, I don't want to hear this talk about personal responsibility. I don't want to hear that. That's bunk. You live in this country, you have a right to medical care. And it needs to be done collectively so everybody has health care for all. Amendment 13 in the U.S. Constitution. Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the U.S. or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Congress shall, in Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So let me just explain what Article 13 means. Slavery is to be prohibited. When you tie healthcare coverage to your job, that's a form of slavery or involuntary servitude. It's definitely involuntary servitude. I guess you can leave your job and you lose your health insurance, or if you get fired, you lose your health insurance, your health coverage. And what happens when you're between jobs? Things like that. I'll make an argument that that is involuntary servitude and it violates the 13th Amendment. And Section 2 allows for the Congress to take appropriate action to make sure involuntary servitude or slavery is not, being in use here in the United States. So I just want to go and point these out. So because the thing about it is, you'll have the right wing in this country, and they'll try to argue about there's nothing in the US Constitution that guarantees you the right to medical care. Jack, I just explained it. Amendment 8 and Amendment 13 pretty much makes it clear that we're violating the Constitution by not having universal health care. Now, would I favor an amendment added to the U.S. Constitution that explicitly says we need medical care for all, guaranteed, taxpayer funded, that every man, woman, and child in this country has free health care upon need? Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Absolutely. And I will argue that we needed yesterday. We needed it. I would say we needed it when this country was founded. And the fact that we don't have universal health care in this country, and I sound like a bloody broken record, but it's the fact that we do not have universal health care in this country speaks volumes into how ass backwards this country is at times. And I like to see this country move forward. Anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree with what I have to say, please comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Please also subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. And I will conclude by wishing everybody a great day. And if the video looks a little grainy, I'm having computer issues with my other computer, the new one. So right now I'm gonna leave, and I'm hoping that I can get the other computer taken care of. I didn't do a video yesterday because I was too tired. So anyway, until next time. want to give a shout out to Invalid Arg. I saw you Jackson Hinkle show last night on the chat line, and interesting show regarding Glenn Greenwald. Oh no, I was I worked last night, of course, and I'm about ready to hit the sack in a few minutes. I've just been it's been nonstop, and a lot of just a lot of craziness going on. So doing a live stream is sort of my way of relaxing and everything. And I just been doing a little research and saw great ways to try to fight the right with regard to this argument that healthcare for all is unconstitutional. It isn't, and so I hope that I'm doing my part to help the left or anybody. Doesn't have to be the left. It can be anybody who supports universal health care, and and defeat them and at their own game. Those who are critics of universal health care, and use whatever it takes to do this. Yeah, Hinkle chat is a good time usually. Yeah, he seems to have a good grasp on things. Been very impressed with his show. And I just wonder what Jackson Hinkle thought several months ago when Tim Black went out of his way to attack him on the show. That was funny as hell. I mean, I like Tim Black. Don't get me wrong, but he went after Jackson Hinkle, and I can imagine he was probably humored by that. So, anyway. Well, I guess I will be signing off, and hope to see you and all the others on the other chat rooms, streams, and all that. And Invalid, keep up your content too. Um, Take care. Have a great day.